Hello Adam, hello John, it's Elliot. In your last Knowledge on the show, you asked this question. I'm gonna play it right now.
Is inequality is income equality, because that's almost the same thing. It's synonymous. Is that a zero-sum game? Because the way it's being shown by the mainstream prostitute media is the rich people are hoarding all the money. And I don't believe that's the way it works. And it's literally, when you talk about even the 1%, 99% implies that these people have all the money and they're not letting you have it. But I don't think the economy works like that. Like, it's not like one pool of money and these people keep it and there's no other money.
They're all holding it in a big bunch.
Yeah, that's kind of what the charts make it look like. This clearly cannot be true.
This is my money.
Okay, Beavis Butthead, I can see you struggling with this a little bit. Now, I think that I managed to work it out. As I like to call it, mathematically proven. Numbers speak for itself, so I'm just going to explain it to you. It's going to take a while, so be patient, stay with me, and I'm going to try to be as clear as I possibly can, even with my Eastern European accent, okay? Now, what actually led me to the conclusions that I'm going to show you in a few moments is the two quotes from the video called 97% Owned. One is, I'm going to play it right now, it's from Ben Bernanke, but with a small introduction.
But on the 9th of March in 2009, the Governor of the Federal Reserve, Ben Bernanke, gave the first ever broadcast interview the Governor of the Central Bank of the United States of America had ever given. And the day before that, he'd bailed out AIG, which is an insurance company, not even a bank actually, to the tune of about $160 billion. So the journalist says to him, "Now, Mr. Bernanke, where did you get $160 billion to bail out AIG?"
Is that tax money that the Fed is spending?
It's not tax money. The banks have accounts with the Fed, much the same way that you have an account in a commercial bank. So to lend to a bank, we simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account that they have with the Fed. So it's much more akin, although not exactly the same, but it's much more akin to printing money than it is to borrowing.
Yep, so he shouldn't have said that, because that was one of the keys to work it out. And this is a quote from Voltaire, which you already know, and he was right, I think. Oh, this is the scheme that the Royal Bank of Scotland is involved. There's a Royal Bank of Scotland group at the top, and this is how the whole scheme is laid out, right up to the very bottom, which is in Northern Ireland, Ulster Bank. Right, so this is how the whole mess looks like. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to explain it on, let's say, three on the subsections of this whole octopus, which is, let's say, this portion of it. Okay, I'm going to, later on it works for the rest of them. It's true for, as I call it, horizontal and vertical expansion, so it will work for everything here. Right, so as Bernanke said, we have a central bank which is in here, and we have, which has three bank accounts on his books. Bank 1, Bank 2, and Bank 3. Bank 1 have a 5 account, Bank 2 have a 6 accounts, and Bank 3 have a 8 accounts. Okay.
A total of 46 banks hold central reserve accounts at the Bank of England. Smaller or foreign banks hold accounts with one of these 46 banks to allow them to accept or make payments in pounds sterling. Prior to March 2009, the Bank of England would ask each of the major settlement banks how much reserve currency they needed. The settlement banks would then swap a bond for the reserve currency and agree to repurchase the bond for a specific amount at a specified future date.
So all those three banks can be placed with the central bank rules as it is right now. The central bank is in the middle. When the central bank lends 948,000 units of exchange, that's going to be important. It's going to happen back in the number is going to appear later on in the whole presentation. So the central bank lends 948,000 units of exchange to the economy. via bonds, and that goes to the banks, and banks pass it to the clients via the credit. So this is the convention here. So if you look at it from top to down perspective, just like in a pyramid scheme, you have to look at it in a way that people from early 1900s looked at it. So they didn't even know what the derivative is, what the collateral debt obligation is, what all of this other crap is. It's just a product. As I look at it, it's just a product that you just swap here and there just for money, and the money isn't here. So all you have to do is just look at the pure numbers, and that's the way I like to look at it. And this is the way I actually worked it out. So you have Bank 1, Bank 2, and Bank 3, B1, B2, B3, central bank, and you have all of those accounts in here. You see, back in the days, they didn't have, like I said, those fancy words and the Wall Street and shit. But the only science they had is a little bit of physics, a little bit of electrics, a little bit of hydraulics. So those are actually the work they have been operating, and what's happening right now it's just noise, and that's how I like to call it. So the other thing that everybody has to look at is you have to restrict the language to the bare minimum, which is just the bare numbers. So let's do it this way. Okay, so on the slide 2, we have variables and constants. Variables are random, and it just doesn't matter as long as the credited banks are still more than 2, people in the economy more than 2, transactions in the economy is more than 0, amount of money in the circulation is also random, value of each transaction is also random, and the morning balance on each account in the economy is also random. The only thing that has to be constant and equal 1 is the central bank, which is in the middle. And that's the same. Okay. Okay, so on the page 3 we have a thesis, and so the first one will be there's no money left in non-circulation. Second one is there's only circulation, which is bookkeeping left. No need to have money in the circulation with the central bank. It's just that there's no need to have. Transactions cancel each other out at the end of the day, which is also a quote from the 97% on.
There are millions of people across the country, all transferring money to each other, using only a few major banks. These banks can keep a tally on their computer systems, and usually many of the movements cancel each other out at the end of the day.
So yes, it's been proven in here mathematically. So the end game equals 0, and that's how it looks at the end, regardless of the number of the banks, people in the economy, transactions, or value of each transaction. Account bound. True for positive money and negative credit values. Okay, so that's slide number 2. 3, sorry. Right. On the slide number 4, I've placed those accounts on the geographical area. So here is our, let's say, country. There's a central bank, there are 3 banks in here, and they have their own accounts, which have numbers instead of the account holders' names. Like I said, each number represents multiplication of 1,000 to find out, how much money they have on the account, but just to make it easier and visible for everybody. So I will call it here, geo-economy at AM, no transactions yet. Okay, so on the next slide, I'm going to show you this is laid out. I've placed all transactions on the map. So it looks like this. All the dots stay the same. It's just arrows added, okay? So here we have a 1 day in the economy. So it's a geo-economy at PM, all transactions recorded. So we have our account code number 27, which bought something for 11 11,000 units of exchange, and so on and so on. And the money was traveling in between the accounts inside of one account, one bank, or in between the banks, like in here. It goes here. That's gonna be important later on that one. So that's all interesting here. It's all random. I was just guessing the numbers, like pulling them out of my arse.
Deutschland, Deutschland, überall. I had on this morning. I just should be recording these calls just for the fucking crack, or at least making notes.
And what? How did you arrive at the 7? Just, as John would say, picked it out of my arse. You know?
Yeah. So this is one day in the economy, the example economy. Okay. On the next slide, all of those transactions in here are placed in tables. I mean, listed actually. They're listed one after another, and so it's called one day economy, AM to PM list of all transactions. So just like you have those arrows over there, which pointed that which account should it what value into other account, you can place them in here. So this is how it all goes. And they've placed in the tables, and the final results are in the red in here. Make a screenshot, print it out, check them. Good, all clear. Well, here the only thing you have is the list of all the transactions one by one. And here it's listed as the bookkeeping inside of each bank. So you have a B1, B2, B3. You have the morning balance of each side of the accounts. On account number 27, have £27,000 in the morning, and there was money coming out, and it's listed in this column, and there's money coming in, and it's listed in this column. And at the PM, the account balance was such and such. This is the account balance from time bank. Okay, this is the bank balance. This is the bank balance. This is the account for the balance. And here you have just pulled out the bottom line to show the PM transactions minus AM transactions for the bank. So it's here. Okay. Make a screenshot. Checking. Now we are back in the slide number 4, which gives only the transactions inside of each bank. So as you can see, there's no line crossings in here. So it's only what happened inside of the bank. If you take the previous slide, you will be able to see it very, very clearly. And also I've placed those values of the transactions which shift from one account to another one. And yeah, this is how I left it. This is just a part of the day. So it's just on the internal transactions inside of the bank. When on this slide you have it on a geographical area divided by the line. And here I've placed it in the V1, V2, V3 fashion, but again, not on with the potentials going from which account to which account with the values of those transactions in here. And basically just without the geography, without the map, it's just on the paper right now. And it looks more like vectors in physics, or as I like to call it in electrics, it's like potential going from one point to another one. And in here it's where the magic starts. So this is bank B1, B2, and bank number 3 have a little bit more internal transactions. So it looks a little bit tricky for the start, but later on it will all become very, very clear. So it's bank internal transactions now, okay? Now the magic, the 0 point, or it's called in electronics superpositioning theorem. And the way the superpositioning theorem works, that if you introduce the 0, let's say that this is the electrical circuit where you have the power supply, you have a resistor, you have a switch or whatever, and you have a potentials going all around it, and you don't know one of them. So what you have to do is to place the 0 point in the middle, which I've done here, and you look at the vectors of all of those transactions in here, or as I like to call it, the shoot of voltage or whatever you want to call it. But the vectors have to be shifted in here, and the way it works is that, for example, if in account number 27 have two vectors going out, 1 and 2, with such and such with 227 plus 11,225 units of exchange. So you add it up because they're going out, and you point the arrow in this direction, which I've done here. And if you have one vector coming in and one vector coming out, you have to this one just shift it in here, and this one will have to go in there. So which means that you have to take 701 minus 120, and that brings you to 601, but pointed in this direction because the vector going into the account number 44 is stronger than the one coming out. So this is how the superposition pairing works, and if you apply this to the bank accounts, especially to the way it's working right now electronically, this is electronics in a different form. So right, so this is something you're already seeing. So that's done for free of the banks, B1, B2, and B3. And if you introduce the 0 point up to 0, up the middle, sorry, in the middle, and here, and in here, and in here, it's yeah. So for example, from the 0 point perspective, now if you want to calculate it, you have to take each one of those potentials in here, which shoots out or shoots in, and place them in there. If it shoots out, it's minus. If it shoots in, it's plus. Okay, so it's simple as that now. Next step of doing it, and in here it's very easy to have just 3 digits. One is coming out, it's 7,200. You can see the arrows coming out, which means that there is a minus. If the arrows coming in, plus arrow coming in, there's a plus. This is a more complicated one, but again, it looks like very simple. Now, okay. Poker game. So we already have all transactions cancelled out in here. On the previous slide, you can see the final result is 0, 0, and 0. So let's take care of the rest of the transactions, the second half of them, which is those which are going between the banks, which is those that do cross the lines, only those that cross the lines. So that's the remaining transactions that you will do.
When bank customers transfer funds from their account to another person's account, a process called intraday clearing occurs. The amount of central reserve currency Bank A has at the Bank of England is reduced by the corresponding amount that Bank B receives.
And once again, you add them all up, all of those transactions in between the banks, and put them in the magic superpositioning theorem. And the first one is I call the sum of B2B bank-to-bank transactions only. And once again, you have B1 and B2, B3, and sums of all of those transactions which cross the line between B1 and B2 are listed in there. Those that cross the line between B2 and B3 are listed in this direction, and the stronger one points the arrow in the right direction. And then you look at those two, for example, numbers, and you pull out a bigger one, and this drives the vector in that direction, and you have to take out the 13,000 on this occasion from the opposite force, which means that you have the stronger force pointing the arrow in the right direction. And once again, if you put the 0 point in the middle and use only those arrows in here, forget about these. Just have a look right now. So this is basically how I like to call it, is the competition-based banking system, because in here, when the bank one loses and the bank two wins, they have to, just make way of transferring wealth to the bank two because they own them and whatever.
The high street banks don't want to be carrying around huge quantities of money because it's dangerous and it's inconvenient and it's expensive. You have to hire security guards for that type of money. So what they do is they pay each other in what is an electronic version of cash, which in the industry is known as central bank reserves.
But in here it just doesn't matter anymore. It's a very lazy way of approaching the banking. And so this transforms with the superposition here into this. It's the central bank in the middle, which in electronics is a 0 point. And once again, we have calculations in here for that, and it comes back to 0. So with the central bank money at PM, it's a monopoly basically. It's monopoly. Obviously, in here it's competition-based banking, and monopoly. And at PM, transactions cancel each other out to 0. Central bank does changes on free accounts only. Only for the bank B1, B2, and B3, where the final balance equals 0. Pyramid scheme, obviously. To prove the point, I have to color those digits in here and potentials which were shared out from B1, B2, and B3 to the central bank in the middle. I've placed them in a one-way table. In here it's the central bank's books. On the central bank's books, just like Bernanke said at the beginning, you have a B1, B2, and B3. And you have the morning account balance for each of them, and just like at the beginning, it was 948,000 units of exchange. Money coming out and coming in during the day, and at the end, you have again 948,000 units of exchange. So if you take them out, and you have a 0, you compare these two, and you have also 0. So yes, pretty much everywhere you look at it, it comes back to 0. All transactions cancel out. No money bookkeeping done, only for free accounts. There's not much done, basically. There's no movement. And back to EM to circulate it. PM to PM, it's a buffer, just to fill up the gap between the Q and the gap. True for vertical and horizontal expansion, just like from first length, I'll show you the real bullshit Scotland. And it's true for all variables from Q. So please tell me that I'm wrong, okay? Because if yes, then why a Royal Bank of Scotland have a logo like this? It looks for me like a 0, which points the arrows in the right direction, which means that it would be B1, B2, B3, and B4. Looks like a Royal Bank of Scotland wants to be a central bank.
It's not creating new jobs. It's not enhancing the quality of the economy. It's not helping our balance of trade. It's not helping the public deficit. It's a zero-sum game.